In my humble opinion, Superman in the DCEU would benefit greatly from being a brown man, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, welcome to Opinions Only, the show where you get all of video analysis without all of the condescension. Yes, it's been a long time. Yes, I was going to start this show last year. No, I don't have a great excuse, but COVID gives us a lot of time, so that's why I'm here. Yeah. I think it's been about a year since there were all of those rumors that Michael B. Jordan was going to be the new Superman, because Henry Cavill was possibly stepping down, but possibly hasn't stepped down, but we weren't sure. People were speculating on this last year when I was supposed to start this show, and I was going to make this video as the first video last year, and I just didn't end up making anything. We'll get into that later, but very specifically, I want to talk about race in terms of characters and how stories can actually be benefited from having diversity in them. I feel like I'm going to be making a lot of videos of this style going forward, not all of them, but just that I feel like this is something that's actually very important, and I feel like it's not just for the benefit of representation. I think that stories actually have a much better grip on their audience when they're able to experiment with a diversity of point of views. Obviously that should be where we go to make the best stories that we can, but too often we kind of get the exact same viewpoint for every single story. And so to start, I'm going to reference a video by a guy, Tim E. Kish. He made this video a while ago, but he made it about Spider-Man because it was just before Civil War was coming out and we weren't sure who was going to be the new Spider-Man for the MCU. And he was saying that Peter Parker, not Miles Morales, Peter Parker should be a black person, and that would help his story. And I thought that was a great idea, and I totally piggyback on that idea, but I'm not going to go into all the details here. Please go watch his video. He can explain it for himself. By the way, I'm going to be wiping a lot of sweat because it's scalding hot in here. But yeah, he can explain that video on his own better than I can, so I'm not going to, try and take the reins on that. But specifically to kind of go over my standpoint here, when it comes to adjusting the race of a character, I do agree that things shouldn't be changed arbitrarily. But I do think that anything outside of the norm is just going to give you more ideas than you can work with. However, there are certain characters that I don't think can be changed because the race of that character is actually installed and actually is important to the character themselves, Like I said, I won't go too deep into it, but with Timmy Kish's video, he talked about how Peter Parker being an outcast and being a black outcast in 2016 when that video came out would actually make his character a lot deeper, so when he puts on the mask, you don't know who he is anymore, and so he can actually come out of his shell, and that will actually influence his character. Bruce Wayne can't be a black guy. I don't think there's too much generational wealth in his family. He would need to be from some other country. He would basically need to be T'Challa for that to actually work, And so also I feel like there's just something to be said about a really, really rich white man who puts on a mask and beats up poor people every night instead of running for public office to, just economically fix his city. I just don't think that would work as a different race of person. I think that his character kind of needs to stay the same, Same thing with somebody like Tony Stark, primarily for the same reason. But then again, somebody like Aquaman, we saw how making him Samoan does actually influence the character. Even though the character himself isn't of that culture, him being Samoan connects to the people of that culture because they're Pacific Islanders. And so having Aquaman be that race isn't crazy to imagine that he's not a white man swimming around in the ocean. That's what I'm getting at. Specifically when it comes to Superman, and more so the way that he's depicted currently in the DCEU, I think him being a brown person, specifically a brown person who appears to be what we conceive as a typical Middle Eastern Arabic person. But I do think that he would benefit from that vision, from that visual on us. And I'm going to explain why. I think the biggest issue with Henry Cavill as Superman is that the story that they were trying to convey of him being just this, confused and broken individual who's trying to decide, where he can stand as this godlike figure among human beings who are nothing. I don't really get why a gorgeous white man, rippling muscles, comes down from the sky and people don't immediately think Jesus. Like, it just makes more sense. Yes, they had the religion side of things. There were people who did worship him as a god within the films. But I do think that it's strange just that in terms of the government being so afraid of him, he's so approachable as a person. And I'm not saying that his character cannot reach those lengths at all. But one thing, going back to Timmy Kish's video, that I had an issue with Andrew Garfield is that nerds in 2011, I think that movie came out then, looked like Andrew Garfield. Like, nerds aren't pimply, fat, playing, D&D and Magic the Gathering obsessively. Like, that's a stereotype, The nerd stereotype that we had when it came to the original Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire was a stereotype of a nerd, and it was so much easier just to make him an adult and age him out of high school because he didn't fit that viewpoint of what nerds looked like in the 50s and 60s, and that's when those comics came out, and that's what people were thinking of when it came to nerddom, was this straight up outcast. Nerds ride skateboards. Nerds aren't just ugly. Nerds might just be the guy that sits in the back of the class and doesn't talk much, but that doesn't mean that he can't be cool, because nerds are cool. Like, that's just how it is in our society. But with Timmy Kish's video, if he was a black person, that would instill some definite outcastness to him being in high school just from jump. Being an intelligent black guy in 2016 would help him and make us connect with his character. I think that it's weird that an alien from a completely other galaxy, from a race of beings that look like human beings, happens to just look like the dominant, most attractive male specimen of the planet that he happens to land on. I think that is strange, especially considering that Europeans aren't that huge of the Earth's population, that he just happens to be a gorgeous white man. Doesn't make a lot of sense if we're going by all the logic that people like to spew out when it comes to why characters should look like what they look like. I think that his character coming down in the United States of America, looking like what we think of Osama bin Laden, I think, imagine this. He lands in rural Kansas. Some parents find him and adopt him and try to raise him. People in the town are like, why is this brown kid here? Why'd you adopt this brown kid? The parents are trying to explain what's going on. But he kind of grows up seeing the worst of humanity because he can't understand why he's any different from these people. But they already have this picture in their head of who he's supposed to be. And as he grows into puberty, he realizes that he has all of these superpowers that make him stronger than literally everybody he's ever come across. And so his dad has to pull him aside and be like, yo, you shouldn't be using your powers at all, but you shouldn't use them for bad. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And he'll be conflicted because he's like, these kids just don't like me. And I don't know why they don't like me, because I don't know where I'm from. But as far as I know, I look just like you. But he's like, you don't. At the end of the day, you don't. And there's history in this country that you just don't understand, and that's why you're just gonna be hated. That fucking sucks, That's difficult for a kid to understand. And so he would leave Smallville feeling like, I want to see the best that humanity can offer because I feel like I need to do good, but I can't understand why people don't trust me. And I do think that then when Zod shows up and this brown guy with a beard is trying to defend the city and has to knock down a whole bunch of buildings to do it, people will be like, that's the guy who knocked down the towers, is now flying through the air. And this man needs to prove why he's not what human beings already think that he is, what Americans specifically think that he is, because they're thinking terrorism. And I think that's what Bruce Wayne was feeling in Batman v Superman. And for me, I get it that he knocked down these buildings and that he's this godlike figure and we're not sure what's going on. But going back to the rich white guy defending his city thing, I think it would work very well for this character to have this brown guy trying to explain why he's not inherently a threat. Just because I've got powers and just because I look like somebody you think is a problem for some reason, I still can't figure out why you just attribute the way I look to me definitely being connected to these tragedies that happened years ago, but I'm here to protect you. And this rich white guy's like, no, I don't think you are, because I'm here to protect people and I look like the guy you expect to be protecting people. I think two guys who, for all intents and purposes, could go literally anywhere in the country and not immediately be suspected of any wrongdoing. I think that it's strange that one of those guys looks at the other guy and immediately thinks him of wrongdoing, you know? I think Superman's character would do a lot better to be the visual center of what America considers to be a threat and yet have to fight back against that and prove to humanity that he's not. If you guys agree, please let me know. If you disagree, please let me know. Like I said, I'm going to be doing other videos with these similar kinds of things. Obviously, it's opinions only, so please get pissed off at me in the comments. Like, that's how it goes. But I need everybody to know, like I said in a video last year at some point in time where I went through and detailedly explained all of the rules behind this show, and it was way too long for anybody to actually want to watch. I'm here to share my opinions. I have a degree in visual effects and animation. I study film, but beyond that, I don't have any credentials, you know? I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't know everything. I'm just here to share my opinion, and I hope you guys can give me yours. So yeah, if you like the show, please check out my Black Panther episode. Please stay tuned for more episodes. I'm not gonna promise a very specific output because, as far as you know, it takes me an entire year to make a new video. So I'm not gonna promise any specific output, but I am doing my best now to really make this a thing. If you'd like, please check out Bantucentric. There are almost 100 episodes of that out currently. We've been on hiatus due to COVID. But I think it's good. It's funny, you know, check that out. Just search Bantucentric on Google and you'll get it, or just go to Bantucentric.com. If you want to check out ImagineOnlyProductions.com, you can, but I don't know that there's a lot there. You can check out BuckRivers.com. Look at my writing. I do writing. I also write for Screen Rant, so if you're looking for game guides and reviews, check Screen Rant for that. On that, I've got a random question. What would a perfect sim racing streamer look like to you? Not physically. Just what would that depiction look like? I don't know if there's a lot. I know there's obviously a lot of people that do sim racing, but as you can see, I'm recently very, very into it. I've been doing this maybe 6 months now, you know, so I'm not good at it at all yet, but I'm thinking about it. So yeah, give me your opinions on sim racing if you're interested in it. Share your favorite streamers or whatever, because I'm thinking about getting started. I just need some kind of tips and stuff about streaming from PS4. I don't have a gaming computer yet. So yeah, but thanks for watching.